Hi, I'm Vicki Grant, author and volunteer chair of Funny Pages, Canada's only festival celebrating books that make kids laugh. Live streaming of your event is going to start soon, but before it does, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, especially our presenting sponsor, Access Copyright, and our venue sponsor, Halifax Public Libraries. Thanks to their generous support and that of all our sponsors listed here, kids throughout the province will be entertained and inspired by some of Canada's funniest authors. To find out more about our featured authors and to keep up with
morning,
festival
everyone.
news, please visit our website at www.funnypages.ca. And now, enjoy your presentation.
It's wonderful to see you all on this beautiful day for the third annual Funny Pages Festival. So, good morning to all of you. These sessions are going to be running all day, so that's pretty exciting for all of you. And we're thrilled to have the following schools join us this morning. Bel Air Elementary, Mount Edward Elementary, Sunnyside Elementary, well, we know where they are, Bedford South Elementary, Burton Ettinger Elementary, Tantallon Senior Elementary, Halifax Grammar School, Hebville Academy, well there's grammar, Hebville Academy, Joseph Howe Elementary. Yay, yay. A couple of housekeeping. Well, welcome to all of you as well. Welcome, St. Joseph's. SJAM, I think is, yes. So, a couple of housekeeping items this morning. I would ask, please, for those that are here with cell phones, that you please turn them to mute so we can give our full attention to our presenter. So thank you for doing that. And if you have any questions, those will be going, the presentation will allow for you to be involved, so I think that you'll see how those questions will work. Today, I'm very pleased to introduce Helaine Becker. When Helaine isn't creating colorful paintings or building teeny tiny furniture and accessories for teeny tiny houses or making stop-mo animation films, she's a well-known author of more than 90 books for children and young adults. She has a bestseller, which is Counting on Catherine, How Katherine Johnson Saved Apollo 13, and a #1 national bestseller, an enduring Canadian classic, and a porcupine in a pine tree. Her books have been recipients of Picture Book of the Year Award, the Cook Prize, the Giverny Prize, Bank Street Best of the Year, and many others. Please join me in welcoming Helaine Becker.
Thank you. Hi. Hi. It's kind of exciting to be here, but it's really early in the morning for me, so I really have no idea what I'm doing because I'm half asleep. I'm a night owl, and this is just very early. But I think we're supposed to be talking about being funny and funny books and stuff like that. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Do any of you have paper and pencils, or are we just no? Okay. So if you have something and you can write, that's great. There might be some activities that we can do together. And if you don't, that's okay. You can do them later on your own with your friends because they're funny. They're fun. So I press the button. I don't know what's going to happen either. So let's see. Okay, so that's some of the books. That's a book with the sloth there. More books. Okay. So, what makes people laugh? Surprise. So, surprise is pretty much the first thing. So, if you think about it, you know how if somebody tickles you on the bottom of your foot, you laugh? Right? It's an automatic reflex. Well, the same way is that when your brain is surprised, it makes you laugh. It's the same kind of reflex, but it's your brain, not the bottom of your foot. So if you want to be funny, oh, I forgot to ask you the most important question. Are you funny? Do you want to be funny? Do you want to make your friends laugh? Okay. Okay, so this is how you're going to do it. I'm going to give you the techniques because there are some practical ways. So the first thing is you want to surprise people. Did I press a second button? Oh, I did. Okay, let's go on to the next one anyway. So you want to come up with something that's going to surprise your reader. So let me give you an example. Imagine I am a clown. Not hard to imagine. I'm a clown. Oh, look, there is a banana peel over there. Okay? I've gotten the banana peel, and boom, a steak falls out of the sky. Surprise! You were probably expecting me to slip on the banana peel, which might have been a surprising thing, in 1492. But it's not surprising to us. So when something unexpected happens, that's the one thing. So you keep that in mind. How are you going to create surprise? Whether you're telling a story, whether you're drawing a picture, whether you're making a video, singing a song, whatever it is that you're doing, you want to create surprise, and that's how you get the laugh. Okay, so how are we going to create surprise? There's some techniques that we can use. This is the first one, mash up. You take two things that do not belong together, and you mash them up together. And when you do that, it's surprising because they don't belong together. So, comic artists who have to come up with new ideas all the time can use a variation of this magic grid. So, if you can't come up with the ideas yourself, you're like, oh, I'm stuck. So what you do is you put some random words in each column. A noun, person, place, or thing, a verb, an action word, and a place. I sometimes add one more column at the other end with another noun, just whatever. You can make as many rows as you want. So I filled them in to give you an example. And here are my choices that I put in. So there's the slobbery grinning wolf, the mushy banana, and the furry monster for my person, place, or thing. Doing the cha-cha kind of dance, melting or exploding. Places are Mojave Desert, the public library, right here, the Drake concert. Okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to mash them up in ways that you don't expect. So let's see what happens. How can we combine these? So let's imagine a slobbery grinning wolf melting in the public library. Is that funny? Maybe, maybe not, But you're going to keep mixing them together in different ways until something happens that makes you laugh. So what about the furry monster exploding at the Drake concert? Right? I heard at least one solid laugh, okay? So, and you can do this. You're going to take 1 second, and you're going to talk to the person next to you. Hopefully you're sitting next to someone that you like and want to talk to. And mix them up in any way and come up with something that makes you laugh. And it can be in any order. You want to talk in the mic?
Sure. A furry monster doing the cha-cha in the Mojave Desert.
Yeah, getting hot. Okay. You got one?
Wait, which one was it again, Ella?
No, can I say it?
Okay. A mushy banana doing the cha-cha at a Drake concert.
A mushy banana melting in the Mojave Desert.
Yeah, so you're getting the idea, okay? Well, you don't have enough time to do everybody, but you tell each other your funny things. And normally what I would do if we had more time is I would allow you time to write up your own charts with your friends, but you can do this later. It's so simple. You just have a grid of 3 across, whatever, mix it up, come up with your own funny things, and put it in there. See, that would be it. So you have a copy of that and just do it on your own. Next, another thing. Okay, so the magic grid works really, really well. Another technique is word association. And this is for those of us who like to be random, because this is a totally random thing. So what you do is you come up with a word. It could be anything. And you jot down whatever words pop into your mind, right? It doesn't have to have anything to do with anything. It's called random for a reason. It's going to start some thoughts. So I'm starting with dog. And this is the list I came up with when I was preparing for this presentation. So this is the real list that I came up with. So the words I thought of in order were teeth, tail, bowl, bone, dog sitting, roll over, dig, puppy, walking the dog. Okay, you can go on as long as you want. And it could be something totally different in there. It could be cat, it could be, bed, because your dog sleeps on your bed. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Then when you've got your list, you take a look at it, and you look at how the words relate to each other, and see if anything triggers an idea for you. So, is there anything about a puppy walking the dog? Could you picture maybe a puppy walking another dog holding the leash in its teeth? Right? That might be a funny idea. Or, the puppy digging and, and a bug rolls over or something. I don't know. So what I came up with had to do with the words tail and bowl. I thought, what would happen if the dog food bowl had a tail? What would happen when you feed the dog? And this was the actual cartoon that I came up with, right? So there it is, and the tail is wagging as you're putting the food in the bowl. Is this a funny cartoon? It's kind of lame? Yeah, it's a little bit lame, but hey, I'm not telling you that everything's going to be genius. I'm just telling you this is how you trigger ideas. After you've had the idea, you can then judge later on if it's actually a good idea or not. At this point, you're just trying to generate ideas. And a lot of times when I'm in schools, kids say, how do you come up with your ideas? This is one way. The other way is actually I just look at people like you and I laugh. So, easy. I know, you're funny. Look at you. Have you looked at yourselves? Look around. You're hilarious. It's okay. I'm not really making fun of you much. Another technique, okay, it's called switching. And in this technique, you think of a topic that you find either interesting or funny, or a phrase like, have a nice day, something like that. And you switch it up. You pull out one word and replace it with something else that's going to generate surprise because it doesn't fit, right? The whole mashup thing. So, for example, Robinson Crusoe is, cast away on a desert island, right? We may be familiar with that story. It's an old story. So you can switch it up by changing one of the elements. So maybe instead of it being a desert island, it's Manhattan, right? It's New York City. And this is actually pretty much the story of the movie Splash, when the mermaid comes out in New York and finds herself there. Or you could change it, instead of it being Robinson Crusoe, it could be, who? Trudeau, right? You can make it Trudeau and put him on a desert island. I think a lot of people might like that. I don't know. But, so that's the idea. So because I needed to show you how this works, I came up with another cartoon, which you might think is lame or not. We'll see. Nope, there's some more examples. You snooze, you lose. All right, so satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. I changed that to mummy, and I did a cartoon of a shop, a guy selling, mummies, and he's like, but. Okay. Oh, I didn't even show you. There's another. I did one. It's a have a nice day, and I changed it to have an ice day, and it's a penguin waving. Okay. So just a recap. Surprise makes things funny. Absurd surprise make it funnier, right? If it's absurd, I'm done now. Okay, I've done it. Now you get it. You get how to do this. Good. So what happens when you're completely out of ideas? You're sitting there, you've done all the activities, whatever, and your brain is still going, buffering, nothing happening. What do? You're completely out of ideas. Never fear. I am here to help you come up with a funny idea to save your day. Okay, catching ideas. Okay, so people often say, where do you get your ideas? Well, these are some of the ways. But the truth is, ideas are everywhere. In fact, there are ideas hanging in the air over your head. I can see them. They look sort of like fart air. Okay, just a little bit over your heads. But you don't know you're having ideas because it's a skill to catch them. So this is what you do when you're catching an idea. First of all, you pay attention to everything around you. So don't look at your stupid phone, okay? Get your head out of your phone. I don't mean right now, I mean ever. Because nothing is going to come to you when you look at your phone. But when you are looking at the world, at the people in the world, at the things in the world, you're going to notice things. And some of them will be interesting. Like you might be thinking, why is that squirrel on the wire carrying an umbrella? You're not going to see that if you're looking at your phone, right? But if you see that, you're going to think, that's very interesting. I wonder if I could write a comic strip or make a movie or write a story about a squirrel with an umbrella. What would they be doing? Now, if that's interesting to you, and by interesting, I mean an idea you want to work with to turn into something as a art form, you grab it out of the air and you stick it in your back pocket. And when you stick it there, it will be there for when you're really bored, like during class. Sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant when you are sitting at home being told no screens, right? You have nothing to do, you don't know what to do, you pull this idea out of your back pocket, now you can work on something. And these are the questions that when they cross your mind, they will clue into you that you are about to have an idea. Can you hear them going, boop, boop, red alert, boop, boop, boop? When you say things like, what if? Or I wonder what would happen? Or I wish there were. An idea is about to follow, and I will give you a demonstration. So I wonder what would happen if all the teachers were students and all the students were teachers. Oh. Is that a good idea? And when I say a good idea, I don't mean a good idea for it to happen in reality. I mean a good idea for you to use as a basis for a funny story. If you think so, you put it in your back pocket. But now, this was my idea, but remember I told you all those ideas are floating around above your head? I still see them, they're all there. So now we're opening the floor, and I'm going to start you off, and we're going to catch some of those ideas. I'm going to start with, I wonder what would happen if, fill in the blank. I'm not running up there.
I wonder if I can fly.
I wonder if you could fly. Okay. I wonder what would happen if... Don't touch it. No, touch it.
I could eat candy all day.
Okay, bad teeth, I see you coming. Okay, I wonder what would happen if...
I wonder what what was it?
I don't know.
I wonder what would happen if I was a dog all day.
You're not? Are you sure? Are you sure? Why are you scratching behind your ear like that? Yeah, see? Okay. Don't touch it.
I wonder if there were no kids left.
I wonder if there were no kids left. Oh. Is that funny or is that a horror story? It's all good, right? I wonder what would happen if.
I wonder what would happen if there weren't any teachers left in the world.
I can tell you. I can tell you what would happen. You would stay ignorant. You would all stay ignorant, and you would wind up dying in your own filth. Okay.
I wonder what would happen if the world was taken over by rats.
I think the world has been taken over by rats. Have you not seen our governments? Right? World governments? They're all rats. Okay. So you got the idea of how to catch the ideas, how to find them. They're everywhere. And when I said before that, I get my ideas, I look at you, you're funny, I mean it. Because I can look at any one of you and I could ask myself, why are they wearing their hair that way? Why are they sitting that way? What the heck happened to them, right? Like, you can ask yourself any question and then spin off from that. Okay, this is another technique. You could do this absolutely anywhere. You just draw a wacky object. You can do anything. So you draw something. I think I have a... Oh, no. Okay, so you imagine, draw a hammer. A hammer. What can you doodle onto that hammer that's going to make it funny?
4. 4.
A fork?
No, yeah.
A fork? Okay, that's not what you meant, but I'm not... Okay.
A face.
A face, a hammer with a face. Is it on the hitting part, or is it on the handle part?
Yeah, and every time it gets hit, it always says no.
I love it. I want that hammer.
A cat on the side of the hammer.
Okay, and why is it a cats and hammer? Why? You don't know yet. Okay, that's fine. It'll come to you. When I did this, I put an electric switch, an on-off switch on the hammer, because how stupid is that? And it made me laugh because I'm kind of stupid that way. So you can all do this any old time. We don't have time to do it here together. Well, we could, but then we wouldn't do anything else. But just let it go. This is probably the most important thing. I don't know if I'm going to say this later, but I'll say it again later if I do, is when you are coming up with ideas, funny ideas or not, whatever it is, when you're in that idea stage, you do not judge the idea. You don't judge it. There's a time to judge whether something is good or not. It's not at the beginning when you're generating ideas. At that point, anything goes. It can be as stupid, as out there, as ridiculous, as rude. It doesn't matter. Later, after you've generated the ideas, is when you go back and you pick and you judge and you decide which you're going to work with. But at the beginning, you just let it fly. Let it fly. And if you've ever one day have the opportunity to be in a writer's room when they're coming up with their ideas, oh my God, you've never seen such craziness. Okay. Now, this is, I'm going to have to hope some of you who have pencils and paper can do this right now. Because what I would like everyone to do who can do it is draw a copy of this image on a piece of paper and then complete the image. Use it as the basis for a drawing. Okay? And you're going to do it really fast. Really fast. 10 seconds. So does anyone have their pencils out? We can do this. Draw it. 10 seconds. Okay. Okay. Draw a picture using this as your starting point. Okay? Now, those of you who don't have the pencil and paper, you have an idea in your head of what you would draw, right? So if you have that idea, okay, everybody stop. Everybody stop. I'm going to ask you some questions. How many of you either drew or imagined that you would draw a clock? Okay, look around. Everybody look around. See how many hands people are going to draw a clock. Okay, how many of you were imagining in your mind or did on your paper draw a face? Okay, so people who drew a face or a clock, raise your hands. Okay, so look around. The majority of people in this room would draw a clock or a face. What does that mean? Does that mean that these are bad ideas? No. What it means is they are common ideas. Usually, because people are more alike than they're different, the first idea that comes to your mind is going to be one that other people will also have. It's a common idea. Not bad, but common. And what this tells us is if you want to come up with a good idea, a fresh, original idea, don't stop at your first idea. Keep going, because your first, your second idea are going to be common. You're going to get to something that's just from you, that is your spirit, that's fresh and original and new when you go farther. So now, let's just stop again, and we're going to come up with a different idea. Look at the picture up there, decide what you would draw, and let's hear what some of the answers are.
A broken plate.
A broken plate.
A bird.
A bird.
A plate with a fork on it.
A plate with a fork on it, right?
A Q.
Q, like a pool cue? Like
No.
Oh, the letter Q. Letter Q, okay.
A crooked face.
Crooked face. Okay, I'll climb up to the top.
The rock.
The
The rock.
rock.
A pencil with a mustache on its butt.
Mustache on butt, okay.
Someone's face with a pencil as
So there's
a nose.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio. Okay, so do you notice the second time round, you're getting some more interesting ideas, you know, that you can see how they're spinning off into different directions. I'm not going to be able to ask everybody. I don't know how much time I have. 5 minutes? No. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm doing. So that's why I can't do everything. But you'll see how that's working, right? You got that. Okay, I would love to end on one activity that we can do. And it's based on the same idea. It's called the clown's handshake. And this is a improv technique. So if you were doing comedy as an improv artist, this is one of the activities that they might do to warm up. And remember, we just talked about how your first idea is going to be the most common. So here's what we're going to do. And if you feel like you want to participate, you can come and down and we'll line up and everybody will get a turn. If you don't, that's fine. You can just watch. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be a clown, and I'm going to be standing here, and I'm going to be greeting you. I'm going to shake your hand. So each person who comes up to me has to shake my hand. But each person in the line has to do a handshake in a way that has not been done before. Okay, so the first person has it very easy. If you're at the end of the line, it's going to be more challenging. You have to pay attention to everything that's happened before you, because you're not going to do something somebody else did. And it's got to be new. Okay, so if you want to give the clown a handshake before we're done, form a line here. Okay, kids, I'm sorry, we're not going to get to the end of the line because we don't have enough time, but also because the back of the line can't see anymore what's happening at the front of the line. So the whole point is that you have to be paying attention to what's happening at the front. And if you can't see, or you're busy talking to your friend and looking, you're not doing what needs to be done for this activity, right? So that's the key. You have to be paying attention. You have to see what's doing. So what was happening was people started doing the same thing that had been done before. And if they had been able to see what had been done before, not a problem, right? I would have just laughed at them and said, no, go back to the end. But I didn't know if they couldn't see it or not, right? So it might have been an original idea. So anyway, you get the idea. You're going to be clowns yourself. You can try this game anytime. And if you're wondering about what these other ones are, you know, you can look them up under improv techniques and you can do them. But thank you for coming. I hope you learned something and I hope you laughed, and buy some books. Funny guys. And make your own.
Helaine, what an amazing presentation. Thank you so much.
Was it good?
It was. It was
good.
exciting, and it
Good.
gave us quite a challenge. So thank you so much.
Oh.
We're going to
we'll do
have
'em out
we're going to
later.
have some of that later because we're now going upstairs. Thank you.
And thanks to the booksellers at Woozles. We're going to sign after later.
There's
I don't know. What are you doing? Oh, whatever.
Helaine, I'd like to say thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. Thank you so much to the enthusiastic students as well. I think you've given us an exciting challenge to catch ideas, funny ideas. Thank you so much, and this is terrific. Would you give Helaine a clap, please? Let's have some applause.
Hi, I'm Vicki Grant, author and volunteer chair of Funny Pages, Canada's only festival celebrating books that make kids laugh. Live streaming of your event is going to start soon, but before it does, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, especially our presenting sponsor, Access Copyright, and our venue sponsor, Halifax Public Libraries. Thanks to their generous support and that of all our sponsors listed here, kids throughout the province will be entertained and inspired by some of Canada's funniest authors. To find out more about our featured authors and to keep up with festival news, please visit our website at www.funnypages.ca. And now, enjoy your presentation.
So in some way, quite a few of us, if not all of us, have experienced being the new kid in some way. I want you to close your eyes, and I'm going to ask you to imagine something. Close your eyes. Shh. All right. So just imagine it's your first day in a new school. You're the new kid. You walk through the halls. Everything is different to your old school. You come into your classroom, you see all the kids sitting at their desks, excitedly chattering away. You walk down to your desk, you find yourself an empty seat, and you shuffle in. You look around, checking to see who you could possibly be friends with. Maybe that boy over there. Maybe that girl. All right, you have some options. The teacher walks in, ruffles her paper, and starts taking attendance. Good morning, everyone. R. Atkins, here. S. Bryans, here. Oh no, she's saying people's last names. A. Butt. A. Butt. Is there a butt here? What should you do? Should you say here? Or should you pretend like you don't exist and crawl under your desk? You can open your eyes. So, that was my life growing up. Oh. 1 second, please. My name is Ambreen Butt-Hussain, and I'm the author of The Unlovable Helaine Butt. And as you can probably already tell, there is quite a connection between myself and my character, Helaine. Our last names are the same. So just like Helaine, I have been the new kid numerous times. And that is kind of the inspiration behind the book. Helaine has moved around a lot in her life, and she's trying to figure out how to get people to like her at her new school, but most importantly, she's on a journey to figure out how to like herself and how to love herself. So other than being an author, I'm also a teacher. A lot of people who hear that ask me, what do you like more? Do you like being an author or a teacher more? Any guesses? Ooh, well, a strong guess for author, but the truth is I could never decide because I love teaching. I also love being an author. So this, to be honest, is the perfect combination for me because I get to speak to kids about my writing. So this is perfect. I get to do both the things that I love. And then other than being a teacher, the most important job, I'm also a mom of 2 boys who I have. One is 2.5 years old and one is 7 months. And I've left them for the first time ever in 2.5 years by themselves because I'm here all the way from Milton, Ontario, as you have heard. So hopefully they're not burning the house down with their dad or partying too hard. I hope so. But this is a mini vacation for me. Don't tell them. Don't tell them that. Yeah. So yeah, growing up, that's me growing up right there. Similarity with the book cover is not a total coincidence, as you already know. Growing up, I felt like I was a very average kid. You know, the regular B+, A- sort of student. I didn't think there was anything super special about me. Like, I had hopes and dreams like everyone, but I didn't really think I would achieve any of them. I wasn't the most popular kid in school. I had like maybe 3-4 friends, if you couldn't tell. Other than that, I wasn't very sporty. I wasn't into a lot of extracurriculars. And I'm not trying to bash myself as a kid. Like, I was okay. But the point is, I didn't think I would really do anything that special in life. I don't really think I truly believed in myself. But here I am, from all the way across the country, having achieved one of my biggest dreams, which was writing this book, talking to all of you. So I think that's pretty good. That's pretty cool. So that goes to show that even if you think you're just average, or nothing special, you can do anything you put your mind to, and you are stronger than you think. And I'm hoping that through this presentation, I can convince you of that. I can convince you that you can do anything you want. And I'm going to give you 4 simple steps to do so. All right? Step 1, find something you like. And that sounds kind of easy, but when I ask kids, hey, what do you like? A lot of the answers that I get are, well, I don't really like anything. Or I don't know. The main word here is find. You have to find something you like. So you have to try a bunch of different things, whether it's reading or writing or gymnastics or singing or football or whatever it may be. You have to try a lot of things to figure out what it is that really clicks with you and what you really like. Now, for me, that brings me to a question that I get a lot. Why did I start writing? Based on my first step, what do you think? Why did I start writing? Yeah, in the back. You could be right. I couldn't hear you very, very well, but you could be kind of right. But remember my first step. What was my first step? Why do you think I started writing? Yeah. Yes. So I liked writing. I liked writing, which is why I started writing. However, that's not why I started writing this book in particular. I wrote since I was about like 8 years old. I had a diary. I would write in it every day till I was, I think, in my late teens. And I still have all my diaries. I used to write every single day. Now they're really cool to look back at. So I highly recommend that you write a diary as well. It's a great way to kind of like hold on to your memories, laugh at yourself later because they're quite embarrassing, a lot of things in there. And also, like, a good way to kind of get out your stresses of the day and talk about your whole day. So, yeah, I used to write since I was a little kid. So like I said, I always liked it, but what got me to really start writing my book, and this particular book, was the fact that I was inspired by my childhood. Like I said, I moved around a lot. Many times I felt like I didn't fit in. I feel like I went through, to me, it was a unique experience, but now I realize that a lot of people can relate to it. Because I think in some way, everyone feels like they don't fit in or are a little different to the people around them. And other than my own unique experience, it was about my family's experience, and most of all, my parents. Like, I always say this, I think my book is just a huge thank you letter to my mom and dad. Because as I grew up, I realized how much they did for me. And immigrating from Pakistan to England to Canada, they had to sacrifice a lot, and they gave up a lot. Went through a lot of hardships to give me the easy life, comparatively, to them that I have now. So it's a big thank you to them, and I think that's what really motivated me to start writing this book. Other than that, I was also going through a hard time in life, and I was just feeling a bit down, and I think this was a really great way to kind of distract myself. And once I started writing, I think I started feeling so much better, because my energy now was not being used towards those negative thoughts, but instead was being used towards something positive. And I started forgetting about the bad stuff a little bit, because I was so focused on the good, and ended up creating something pretty cool by the end of it. So if you are going through a hard time in life, or you are feeling kind of down on some days, which it's normal, we sometimes do, I highly recommend that you try to put that energy into something good, and work on something that you like I said. And the last reason is you guys. The reason I started writing, I love to teach, as I mentioned. I love teaching kids. So for kids, I wanted to give kids something that they can see themselves in. Growing up as a South Asian and as a Muslim kid, I didn't really see myself represented in media. And if I did, it was usually in a very negative way, whether it was in the news or in TV shows. So I never really saw myself in a positive light out there. And when you constantly see yourself being shown as something negative, you start thinking, well, people don't really like me. And then it's kind of hard to like yourself when that's what you think. So I really wanted to give, especially people who are, kids who are minorities or who have immigrated from another country or feel like they're very different, I wanted to give them some sort of representation. But truly, this book is for everyone. Like I said, everyone at some point feels like, I don't know if I love myself. I don't know if I like myself. So I'm hoping that every kid who reads this book is able to see themselves in some way in it and realize that they are very lovable the way they are. So I'm going to read you a chapter of the book, and I hope you like it. It's really hard to read a chapter from, just from the middle of a chapter book because you don't know the full story, but I think this one will give you a good idea of what the story is about, like a good vibe of this book. All right. So this is chapter 11. This will probably not come as a surprise, but I hate too much attention. A little bit from people I love is appreciated, but being the center of it is like a nightmare. And for this reason, I hate my own birthday. I hate all the attention that comes with it. The whole day is just an awkward experience for me. Like when everyone sings happy birthday, what exactly am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to look? At the ground? At my hands? At their faces? It's just way too much pressure. That's not even the worst part, though. I'm probably the most uncomfortable when everyone's staring at my reaction as I open my gifts. And somehow I can tell I won't like one as soon as I pick it up, even though it's been tightly packaged and disguised in shiny wrapping paper. The anxiety begins from the moment I touch it. Oh, a tiny bottle of hand lotion that smells a little like feet, and a fuzzy sweater. Thank you, Auntie Nasreen. So very thoughtful of you. I swear, Auntie Nasreen must think I'm 40. I do like other people's birthdays, though, because I can just sit back, relax, and watch. No stress for me. At least that's what I thought. Until one day, Vani said, "Hey, so it's Emma's birthday next week. What are you going to get her?" Oh, I hadn't realized I was going to have to get her something. I guess that came with the territory of having friends, a price I was definitely willing to pay. I'm not sure, I replied. What about you? I'm going to get her a gel pen set, and Kayla's getting her a Spice Girls poster, said Vani. I know, you can get her the Spice Girls CD. She said she really wanted that, Kayla added. Oh, she's going to love that. You have to get her that. I tried to match their positive energy. My nods were not nearly as enthusiastic as theirs. I started to think about what I was going to have to do to make this happen. At the dinner table, I told my mom I needed to get Emma a birthday present. But you have not even known her for very long. I know, but she's already one of my best friends. In 1 month, she's your best friend? Yes, Ammi. It seemed my mom thought I should know someone for at least 11 years for them to be considered my best friend. According to her, I would not have any best friends for a very long time, especially if it meant having to buy them gifts. Okay, we will find something. What? She agreed. That was easier than expected. But I should have known better. I should have known it was too good to be true. After we cleared the table, she asked me to follow her to her room. Nadia came along as well. My mom opened up her closet and took out a big, dusty box hidden at the very back. From this mystery box, she started pulling out shirts, dresses, stuffed toys, and other random trinkets, some of which I had never seen before. Very good things in here, Alina. Take a look, she said, pulling out the strange contents of the box one by one, admiring them and then passing them to me. For what? I asked, but a feeling of dread overcame me as I stared at the strange, scary-looking stuffed toy in my hand. Was it a bear? A dog? A baby? Who knows? You can pick something for your friend. They're brand new. No, Ammi, they're all bad. This box was where all weird presents my sister and I had received over the years had gone to die. What are you talking about, Alina? These are beautiful gifts. Why do you think I saved them? Okay, so give them to your friends. I knew I was pushing her buttons. My friends will fit in the sweater, she asked angrily, shaking the fuzzy sweater in my face. I shuddered at the memory of Auntie Nasreen peering at me with a wide smile plastered on her face. No, no, no. I'm not going to give Emma that fuzzy sweater. No way. My mom huffed. I don't understand you girls. You don't want to give these perfectly good gifts, and Nadia's telling me that when she goes to her friend's birthday dinner, she has to pay for her own meal and the birthday girl's food too? What kind of birthday party is this? In Pakistan, the person whose birthday it is pays for everyone. That's good manners, you know. Nadia and I exchanged looks. We didn't need to say anything. We knew we were thinking the same thing. During every important conversation we have to remind our dear mother that we don't live in Pakistan anymore. We live here, in England. So that means I should be able to go to the mall and pick out a new gift for my friend. I should be able to wear cute frilly socks like the other girls, and I should definitely be able to change my name. I kept hoping my rejection of my mother's treasures would push her to let me get Emma the CD. Ah, if only life was that simple. Thank you. Thank you. All right, step 2. When you found what you like, just start. And that sounds like common sense, right? Like, of course, when you have something you like, you start. But this is the part where a lot of people get stuck. A lot of people have really great ideas, and I'm sure in this room a lot of you have really great ideas, but they're just kind of sitting there and waiting and waiting and waiting for you to get started. So what I would advise is just jump right in. Don't think about it too much, just begin. For me, that brings me to my writing process and how I got started. So like I said, I was going through kind of a hard time in life, and I was just really bored one day. I came home from work, I was sitting there, my husband was watching something on Netflix next to me, and I was like, why am I wasting my time? I'm not even interested in this show. Like, why am I just sitting here mindlessly staring at the screen? I opened up my laptop, and I was like, I've been thinking about this for a while. Why not now? And I just started typing. And after a little while, I was having a good time writing, and the words were just kind of pouring out. It was like word vomit, just coming out. And the papers were filling up. After a little while, I looked to my right. It had been a few hours. I looked to my left. My husband was still watching TV. And I was like, hey, you want to read this? He was like, oh, paused it. Okay. He started reading, and he was like, hey, this is actually pretty good. And I was like, okay, this could turn into something. So then from that day on, every day after work, every day at night, I would just sit there writing. And I had so much fun with it. I didn't worry about the mistakes. I didn't worry about what could go wrong, where this would end up. I didn't even think about if this would ever be anything, or how I would ever get this to be a book. I didn't think of any of that. I just wrote. And it was so much fun. I just let my imagination go wild, and I ended up writing the whole manuscript. So when you have an idea in your head, don't wait for the right moment, because there will never be the perfect moment to start. Just start and just jump right in. So after you've done that, after you've done the fun part of starting, because the start is always nice and fun, and after that, step 3, you have to put in the hours and you have to work hard. You have to work very, very hard. For me, other than being a mom, I think this is probably the thing I have worked hardest on in my life. So after that first draft that I had a lot of fun with, my next steps were the edits, the research, and the lists. So like I said, I wasn't thinking about the mistakes. So after I was done the first draft, and I looked back at it, guess what? I had made a lot of mistakes. So I had to read it and reread it and reread it again. So I edited it a bunch of times, and then after I was done editing my book, my manuscript, I sent it to a few really good friends of mine who peer edited my work. So put your hand up if you've ever been asked by your teacher to edit your work. So many times. Yeah, so many times, I hear you. Put your hand up if you've ever been asked to peer edit for a friend. All right, so I can probably guess, because I'm a teacher, so I know this, when you've been asked to edit your work, you take it back to your desk, you sit down, you look over it quickly, and you hand it back without doing much. Or you change one period, or you change one capital, and you hand it back. Don't do that. When your teacher asks you to edit your work, actually edit your work. Because I promise you, if your work is at a B+, it will go to an A-. If it's at an A-, it'll go to an A. And of course, it's not all about that letter or the grades. Your writing will improve drastically. Every time I read my work again, I would find something that I wanted to change, improve, make funnier, spell correctly. It was an entire process. So edit your work carefully, and if you've been given your friend's work, a peer's work, unless they're your worst enemy and you want to ruin their work completely, edit it properly. You will help them out, and they will thank you for it. So editing is a big part of the writing process. So after I was done reading it 50 billion times, I was finished, and then I moved on to researching because I did not know any authors, and to be honest, I had never really thought a lot about being an author, so I didn't know what it took. I did not know what I would have to do in order to get the book out there. So I researched all about the process, who I have to send it to, agents, publishers, all of that stuff, and made a bunch of lists. I don't know about people in here, but my life depends on to-do lists. That's how I start every day. I have to have a list of things I need to do. And if you have agendas, that's basically like making to-do lists, right? You list down your homework and what you need to do. So use them wisely. It's very, very helpful. So yeah, I worked a lot of hours on this part, which brings me to this very special number, 10,000. Any guesses as to what this number may mean? Ooh, I have lots of hands up. Yes, over there. Sorry, I feel bad for just pointing and not knowing names. Yes. 10,000 hours. Yeah, the hint is right there. It says hours, but what do you think it means? What's this 10,000 hours about? Yes. Yep. Okay, good guess. Anyone else? Yep. All right, good guess. You're close. She said that's how long it possibly took. Yep. All right, good guess, similar to the one before. All right, I'll tell you. Someone I asked yesterday was like, Justin Bieber, his song? And I was like, I do love me some Biebs, but no, it's not about Justin Bieber. So 10,000 hours is from this book called Outliers, which maybe some adults have heard about. And that book studied really successful people, like Bill Gates and David Beckham and the Beatles. And what they found was that anyone who mastered their craft or really excelled at it spent at least 10,000 hours working towards it. So that's a lot of time. That's a lot of hard work. And I'm quite sure I can say that I spent at least 10,000 hours working towards this book. And to be fair, 90% of that was probably the editing, unfortunately for me. But it was definitely a lot of time spent. So you have to work very, very hard, and you have to put in the hours if you want to achieve a goal. Last step. Even on a bad day, don't give up. And I would say, especially on a bad day, don't give up. Now, for example, if you are part of your school basketball team and you lose a game, you're probably feeling really down that day. And you are probably very, very tempted to quit. You're probably saying, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not fun. This is not okay. I want to quit. I don't want to do basketball anymore. Do not quit on that day. Okay? It is very easy to quit on a bad day, and you're going to be very, very tempted to do so. But don't do it. Because the bad day does not define the rest of your journey. Okay? It doesn't mean that all your days with that sport or with that goal of yours are going to be bad, or that you're not going to succeed. That brings me to my next step in my writing process, which was rejection. And trust me, I received a lot of them. I heard a lot of no's. I heard a lot of no thank yous. So a lot of rejection was faced, and I was very tempted many times to give up, but I kept going. I kept at it. And to be honest, I think at the very end, when I was so close to giving up, and I had told myself that if this person says no, that's it, I'm done, guess what happened? They didn't say no. They said yes. And I was this close to giving up. That person said yes, and that was it. I did it. So, especially on a bad day, don't give up, because you never know when you're going to hear that yes. I'll go back to that basketball example, if you are having a day where you have won a game and you have had a really good practice, and that day you sit down and you weigh out the pros and cons and you're still thinking, sure, that might be a valid decision. Maybe you don't want to do it anymore because you really don't like it. And that's fine, but not on the bad day. Don't do it. Okay, keep going. Wait till some wins. Wait till some success, because it will happen. It will happen. And yeah, just keep at it. Don't give up. And then, like I said, I heard that yes, and finally, I was there. I had the success. And I found an agent. So for book writing, you don't have to, but many people find themselves a literary agent, kind of like a real estate agent, and then they sell your book to a publisher. So I found myself an agent, and he did something that was quite unheard of. Within a week, he was able to find me a publisher. And on top of that, not just that, he was able to find some producers to sign on my book, to turn it, maybe, eventually, if they're successful, into a TV show. So after all those no's, it kind of worked out. So much good came out of it. And then I thought I was done. I thought the publisher, I won't have to look at my book again for a while. Guess what they asked me to do next? That too, but before that, they asked me to do more edits. So I had to go back, I had to reread it again, but that's okay, because that's what made it as wonderful as it is today. All that editing really paid off, I think. My editor was wonderful to work with. So yeah, and that was it. So in summary, find something you enjoy doing, find something you like. Just start, dive right in, work really, really hard, put in those hours, don't give up, and you've got this. You are special, you are lovable, and you can do anything you set your mind to. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, do we have any questions for Ambreen today?
I think that she's very inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
I agree. I think also very inspiring. Let's come over here.
When I write books, I go back and read it and see if I have to do any edits or delete stuff.
Excellent. That is a great practice. That's good.
After that, I actually feel like I want to be an author when I grow up.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that. Thank you. Thank you.
I liked that, and I have this book too.
Woohoo!
Well, you can get that autographed after the session.
Yeah.
She is a great author.
Yes, she
Guys, if you
is.
think of, I love the compliments. Trust me, I love them. Think of questions that you might have. A question. I love the compliments, though. Thank you.
I know this might start a war, but can I get your autograph?
Yes, of course. So at the end of the day, all the authors, I think, will be in this room, and we'll be happy to give you autographs and sign your papers or your books if you have them.
Okay, we have a question.
How old were you when you first wrote your book?
When
How
I
old
first
were
started
you?
writing my book, so for my book, I think I started writing about 3 years ago, so I was 30. Yes.
Okay, we got another question.
30 plus 3.
What's your book's
You
name?
got this.
What's your book's name?
My book is called The Unlovable Alina Butt. Yeah.
What made you quit? I mean, what made you start?
I didn't get that.
What made you start?
Oh, what made you start? So, a bunch of things, like I mentioned. I wanted to, like I said, the biggest inspiration was my childhood, my parents, and wanting to help kids and make them feel seen in the characters in my book, in the story. Yeah.
How much books have you written?
Oh, that's a good question. So this is my first book that I ever wrote, and I'm very, very lucky that my first book was able to get published. However, as it was mentioned before, the sequel is coming out, so I have written the second one. It's coming out in 2025, and it's called You're Out of Luck, Alina Butt. So, yeah, I hope you guys get the chance to read it. And the plan is that I will hopefully write many more in this series. So, yeah.
Okay, we just have time for one last question.
I'm also writing a new book that's called Will Aliens Invade the World? But I don't have any editor or something like else.
So how would he go about getting an editor?
Oh, so I mean, you can, like I said, when I wrote my first draft, I first edited myself lots of times. And once you've done that, you can always ask a friend to edit it. Before you get a professional editor, you have to make sure you've done everything you can to make it as perfect as possible. So you can get a friend to edit it, you can get your mom or dad or grandma or whoever to edit it, and then if you feel like it's really, really good and you're very proud of it, you can try to send it off to different publishers. You can email it to them, and they'll find you a professional editor.
So if you have any more questions or want an autograph, you can come see Ambreen over here by the books after the sessions. Also, just a note to the teachers, we're missing some schools, so make sure you check your schedule so you know where you're supposed to be after lunch, and if you don't have a schedule, you can ask any of the volunteers. Thanks again for Ambreen. Another round of applause.
Hi, I'm Vicki Grant, author and volunteer chair of Funny Pages, Canada's only festival celebrating books that make kids laugh. Live streaming of your event is going to start soon, but before it does, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, especially our presenting sponsor, Access Copyright, and our venue sponsor, Halifax Public Libraries. Thanks to their generous support and that of all our sponsors listed here, kids throughout the province will be entertained and inspired by some of Canada's funniest authors. To find out more about our featured authors and to keep up with festival news, please visit our website at www.funnypages.ca. And now, enjoy your presentation.
Good afternoon. Hi. How was lunch? Was lunch good? Who had pizza? Is there any more pizza? Oh. All right. Well, I'm glad you're back. My name is Monique, and I'm going to be hosting this session with Kevin Sylvester. I just want to go through and see who all is here. So, anyone here from John W. McLeod? John W. McLeod, are you in the house? Fairview Heights? Woo! Nice, nice representation. Tantallon Senior Elementary? Tantallon in the house? No? East Coast Varsity? Woo! Halifax Grammar? Lamarchin St. Thomas? Nice, nice. Joseph Howe? Okay. Anybody else here that I didn't say the name of your school? I don't know who that was. Who are you? SJ. Woo! St. Joseph A. McKay. Missed your name. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else I missed? Just you personally? Okay. Good. So we're missing a couple of schools. We're missing John W. McLeod, and we're missing Fairview Heights. No? Fairview Heights is here? Oh, sorry. Fairview's here. Hi, Fairview. Hi. God. I feel like I'm Taylor Swift right now. I'm so excited. All right. We're going to get started. Today I'm very pleased to introduce to you Kevin Sylvester. Kevin has written or illustrated or both over 30 books for kids. He's very, very old. Can you show them your hair? He's very old.
Look at all that gray
old hair. Very old.
Yeah. Wait, that was tiring. I need to...
I know. Sit down, Kevin. Sit down.
I could literally die at any moment, so just get ready.
Okay. Don't worry, the adults will handle that if it happens. He also thinks he's very funny. Well, we'll see about that. We'll tell him at the end how funny he is, will we? Yes, we'll be the judges of how funny you are, Kevin.
All right.
He's going to try to convince you with some of his funny books, such as the Hockey Super 6 series, the Zed Watson books, and Apartment 713. Oh, and also he's going to show you some very cool tips on drawing. So let's give him another warm welcome. Here's Kevin.
Awesome. Thank you, Monique. Thank you, everybody, for having me. Thanks for Funny Pages. Thanks to the Central Library. I'm having a great day. And I'm going to talk about writing and drawing during this presentation. And using these 3 books as examples of things that I think a good story needs. So when you are asked to write, how many of you have ever been asked to write a writing assignment, like write a story for school? Okay. How many of you had trouble with that? Okay. I'm going to give you a few tips on writing and a few tips on drawing using the things that you need to have in books. So for me, what I find super important for stories is a good setting. Now, sometimes when people think, oh, I need to come up with a setting, it's got to be some like magical land, or it's got to be like all this amazing like made up stuff from my imagination. No. The setting for almost every book that you liked usually has something familiar about it, and that is because the writer will often draw on things that they love. So whenever you're having trouble writing a story, start with things you love, things you find interesting. If you love playing video games, write stories about video games. So if you have a setting, it could be a video game place where everyone's doing like Warcraft or Smash Bros. Playdowns or something. Find a place like that. I'm going to talk about Apartment 713 right now as an example of how I took a place that I loved and turned it into the setting for my book. But there are other things you need. You need character, you need a problem, some threat, some danger that you have to have in a story. My friend Kevin Sands, who wrote the Children of the Foxes, his latest series, and the Blackthorn series, has a great bit of writing advice. He says, write about a character you love and torture them. Make their life miserable. No one wants to read a story about a kid who's having a great time. Oh, everything's fantastic. I love this. This is awesome. Which brings me to a little bit about character. Now, I drew a little picture of my friend Zed Watts. There's my puppy. My friend Zed Watts, and I said, my hero. Because also write about characters that you love or hate. But I'm going to talk about love. I love Zed Watson. Zed Watson is a non-binary tween kid who everybody thinks is weird. And the thing that Zed loves about it is Zed knows that they are weird. And I wish I had been more like that when I was a kid. I was a weird kid. And you'll know why as you see me go through this presentation. Lots of different reasons. But I wasn't happy being weird. How many of you are weird? How many of you don't think you're weird? You're the weirdest ones in the room. Every single person is weird. Every single person gets laughed at. How many of you have ever been laughed at for something you've done? Great. I love weird characters. Zed, I'm just going to show you a couple pictures from the Zed Watson books to explain a little bit about how Zed is weird. So already Zed is non-binary. People think they, them pronouns are weird. Zed does not care. They're like, those are my pronouns, deal with it. Zed is my hero. Zed dresses in the weirdest clothes they can possibly find. They go to like Value Village and thrift shops and they look for old 80s pajama bottoms. They absolutely love dressing in the weirdest clothes they can possibly find. They have a friend named Sam, or Gabe is their best friend, Sam's sister. They both think Zed's weird because Zed does weird stuff. Like Zed desperately wants to meet ghosts. So Zed pretends they're dead from time to time. They lie on graves and pretend that they're dead, and they say things like, I'm a ghost, I'm a ghost. And Gabe is just like, you are the weirdest kid I have ever met. And Zed is like, yep. They look for they love monsters because everybody thinks monsters are weird. So in the first book, they're looking for a buried treasure, which is a book that was written years ago about monsters and a lot of money. And they think they've cracked the code to go find it. In the second book, they have to spend 3 nights in a haunted house. And they have to miss, one of those nights is Halloween, which bugs Zed like crazy because Zed loves Halloween. Halloween is the celebration of weirdo-ness because you can dress however you want. And Zed loves it so much that they go out before Halloween for a thing they call Halloween-a-ween to go check and make sure that their neighbors have the right candies. And if they don't, they score them negatively on a list that they hand out to trick-or-treaters. Zed's an odd person. But they desperately want to meet a ghost. They're bummed they're going to meet it, but they'll do anything to entertain their friends. I'm just going to do a very short reading of one of my favorite little scenes in the book, which is, no one has ever spent more than 3 nights in this house, ever. It's too scary. Zed is just the sort of weird kid, though, who wants to meet a ghost. Zed is like, I want to die in this house and then come back as a ghost. That would be the coolest thing ever. And they have to go through all of these like rooms, escape rooms, and they go through one of them, and the door opens. And it was the same door that we'd used to enter the room. But no, we weren't supposed to do that, says Zed. We're going to go home, get kicked out of this haunted house. I wanted to cry. But something was different. Instead of leading back into the hallway, this door opened onto the landing of a grand suitcase. And standing in the middle of the open doorway was a ghostly pale girl in an old 20s style flapper dress. And for some reason, she was holding a crowbar. And the next chapter starts, for the last time, Zed, I am not a ghost. That is exactly what a ghost would say, said Zed. Why would a ghost lie? Howled the ghost, who had introduced herself as Hyacinth. Ha ha, I said. Why wouldn't a ghost lie? Look, I'm not a ghost. I just work here. So do all the other ghosts, I said. Really, I felt like I was winning this argument hands down. I mean, the evidence was clear. Look at her. Ghostly complexion, old-timey dress, old-timey haircut, flapper headband. She looked like she was 13, but I guessed she was about 103. And she was a little bit shorter than my friend Gabe. And everybody knows that people back in the olden times were small. I wasn't quite sure how the crowbar fit into my theory, but ghosts do weird stuff. Say boo, I said. I work here with my mom. Bertie, the groundskeeper that you met yesterday who let you into the building, your mom's a ghost too? She just clasped her head in her hands. Gabe decided he better step in. Hyacinth, could you just maybe let Zed, fist bump you or something? Seriously? Or you can just keep arguing with them. I've always wanted to fist bump a ghost, said Zed. Hyacinth rolled her eyes. Fine. She leaned her pale, ghostly arm toward me. I prepared for the cold touch of the undead. I reached over. Okay, so that's book 1. And that's character. So that's a good sign because you want to know what happened next. So that means I'm also touching on plot, which is, basically what happens next. Now, I'm going to talk about setting very quickly by talking about this book. And then I'm going to do the Super 6, and I'm going to talk about drawing. So this is apartment 713. Remember I said setting doesn't need to be some magical land that you create. Write about stuff you already know. Write about places you've been. Make them different, but make them something that it's something you love. That will attract the people who read that book. So for me, I wanted to write a book about an apartment building. And I wanted it to be a cool, special, different kind of apartment building. The Zed Watson of apartment buildings. And luckily, I know a building that inspired me. And that building is where I grew up. I grew up outside Buffalo, New York. I'm Canadian, but I grew up down in the States, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I'm a Sabres fan. Yes, they stink. So, there's a building there which I urge everybody to go visit because it is my favorite building in the world. I have been to Rome. I have been to Beijing. I have seen the Opera House in Sydney. I've been to Paris, London, blah, blah, blah. You here in Halifax have some of the most beautiful buildings in the world, but none of them inspire me like this boring brown brick of a building in downtown Buffalo. because this building taught me a super valuable lesson for everything I'm talking to you about today. This is a picture that I took from about 2 or 3 blocks away, and it does not look interesting. It literally looks like a big brown box, and it's supposed to, because the architect wanted to reward people who are curious, who are willing to take a closer look and not judge everything based on their first impressions. Because your first impression of this building is you're walking by and you go, meh, and you keep walking. All the windows are the same size. It's a big brown building. I'm going to go look at more interesting buildings or go down to the waterfront. But what the architect says is, maybe you're the sort of person who goes, I wonder what that looks like up close. And you'll walk up close. Well, I'll show you what it looks like when you walk up close. It doesn't look like a big brown slab. It's a terracotta orange beauty. Yeah. It's actually a pretty famous building in architecture. It's called the Guarantee or the Prudential Building. And everything that looked boring and brown from far away, you can see is this sort of orangey, beautiful brick color. And all of those things that looked kind of bland and brown, they're actually super intricate designs that you only see if you're curious enough to watch up close. So already the architect, Louis Sullivan, is like, hey, you came and took a closer look. Here's a nice little surprise for you. Then he says, maybe you're the sort of person who looks where other people don't. You're super curious. Maybe you're the sort of person that when you walk through a door, you look up and around as you're doing it, because most people don't. We're going through a door to get from A to B. But he said, maybe you're the sort of person that looks up. Well, I'm going to hide little surprises there, like this little lion's head that's just sort of sitting there on the top of the doorway. You only see it if you look up. It's about 8 feet tall, this doorway. Maybe you look behind the light fixtures. Look at the decoration behind the light fixture. It's some of the most decorated parts of the building. And this is my favorite part. The top of the pillar there, if you look at the lion's head and look up, that's what it looks like up close. But in order to see that, in order to take the picture, I actually had to kind of lean back and sort of go like this with my phone, and I tried it this way, but it didn't work quite as well. You have to really try to look to see that, and it's the most decorated part of the building. One more little trick, he says. Maybe you're the sort of person who really comes up and takes a closer look. Maybe you were like, why were all those windows the same size? Maybe when you get close, you notice that it's because of perspective. Because when you have things that are exactly the same size and they go off into a distance towards a vanishing point, they pull your eyes up. Then you go, whoa, hey, the top of that building doesn't have square or rectangular windows. It has these beautiful round arched windows. So yet again, every step you take closer to this building, you are rewarded. Your curiosity is rewarded. And then something magical happens when you walk right up next to the building. The windows disappear. And it looks like you're looking up at like giant palm trees or stalks of wheat. But I was doing a school visit in Quebec a couple weeks ago, and a kid said, no, you know what that looks like? And I think he's right. Those are the seats in a theater. Yeah, and these are like the footlights that you would have at the edge of a stage. So in the end, what he does with this building is he says, if you're the sort of person who will come right up and look, you are the one being celebrated. You are on center stage, and the building is applauding you. Building blows my mind. My favorite building in the world. It taught me the value of being curious. Here's just a quick look at what it looks like inside. Yeah, stunning. Now, when it comes to setting, I knew I wanted to write a book about a beautiful apartment building like that one. And so I came up with a building called the Regency. But I also knew that I needed to go back to character, and I needed a problem. And I'll tell you a secret about that building I just showed you in a second. So I wanted to write about a building like the Prudential Building. I call it the Regency. And I also know that as a kid, I didn't know all that stuff about that building. I had to learn it by thinking about that building more and more over the years. It's called growing up. Everybody does it. Well, not everybody does it, but hopefully everybody in this room can do it. And Jake is more like me when I was a kid. He's not that curious at first. In fact, he does not like living in this building. He takes it for granted because a couple good reasons. One, when he moves into the Regency, you can see it's kind of crumbling. There's broken glass, the brickwork is kind of crumbling, the statues on the side are covered in pigeon poop and they're kind of falling apart. But Jake is actually a curious person at heart. And the other reason he hates it is that he had a beautiful home in the suburbs. He had his own gaming console set up in his room. Absolutely fantastic. And then his mom lost her job. Her partner left. They had to sell everything they owned, including all of his computers, his chair, his desk, everything, to pay their bills. And the only place they could live was this weird apartment that his mom's granddad had left the key to in this dumpy old apartment building. And so he gets tired one day of listening to his mom on the phone trying to get work. He sneaks out, and just like that building in Buffalo, he starts to take a closer look at the Regency. And he walks around and says, wait, I didn't notice this when I moved in, but there's carved animal heads all over the place. And they hide little secrets. The hippo's head, you press that R, the mouth opens up, that's the garbage chute. The bear, you shake its paw, it's a big carved bear, you shake its paw, the mouth opens up, and in the mouth, there's a key. But nobody knows what the key opens. So he's like, wow, this building's kind of interesting, kind of mysterious. He starts to fall in love with it. He bumps into the superintendent of the building, this big Santa Claus-y type happy guy named Danny, who loves the building more than anything. And he also loves the weird people who live there. And he says to Jake, I could use some help helping out the people who live in this building. And Jake's like, great, but they're weird people, right? And Danny's like, yeah, they're weird. One guy in particular named Delaney is the easiest example. He's sort of a sketchy-looking dude, and Jake's worried that he's doing illegal stuff because he's like always running around delivering packages and getting weird packages in the mail. But then he takes a closer look and discovers that Delaney's a bike courier. And what he is also is a really good baker. And so what he's getting in the mail are weird ingredients that he used to make these amazing cakes and cupcakes and stuff. He takes a closer look. He starts to fall in love with the building. He starts to fall in love with the weird people who live there. Now, this is where I said, when you are stuck for a story idea, take a thing that you love and threaten it in some way. Get rid of it. Make it dangerous. Make someone try to take it away. Jake has already lost his home. He's moved into a building that's starting to feel like home. What do you think the problem's going to be? You can just yell it out. You should all figure it out by now. He walks back into the basement one day, and he sees Danny down there in the superintendent's office, sitting at a desk. Danny, like who I said is a super happy guy, and he's sitting there staring at the piece of paper on the desk. And it's a letter from the city saying they're going to tear down the Regency. And this is because I found out later in life that when I was a kid, they almost tore down that Prudential building in Buffalo, New York. They almost tore it down. What a loss that would be. This amazing building that teaches you how to take a closer look. So I know what that feeling is like. Now, I'm going to do a very short reading, then we're going to draw. The reading involves Jake sitting there. Danny's just showing him this letter. They don't know what to do. And a light goes off on the wall. So on the wall in the superintendent's office, there are lights for every apartment building, or every apartment in the building. And the apartment 713 is all taped up. And what happens is that normally you press a button if you need help, the light shines. Let's say you live in apartment 504, the light shines in apartment 504. Danny says, oh, that's Lily's apartment. I need to go up and help Lily with all the stray cats she takes care of, and he'll go up and help her out. The one for 713 is all covered up with electrical tape. And Danny explains to Jake, it's because you're not allowed to go in there. It's off limits. No one is allowed in apartment 713. The light goes off for Delaney's apartment, which is up on the 7th floor. And Danny says, I'll go help Delaney out, Jake. You stay here. I have to feel useful. And so now Jake is all alone down in the superintendent's office, this hidden room in the basement with all these beautiful decorations around it. He tried to figure out what he was feeling. Was he confused? Definitely. His mom had said they could make a home here. It had just started feeling like one, but now, like his old home, it was about to be taken away. He got so angry, he slammed his hands down on the table. Something metal clanked. He looked over. Danny had left behind the keys. He scooped them up. Danny, he called, but there was no answer. Danny must have already left. Jake started walking around, looking at all the beautiful decorations. Did demolition crews save stuff like this, he said? Or did they just crush it to dust with bulldozers and then throw it into the dump? He ran his fingers along the smooth wood panel. I'm sorry, pal, he said to the building. A red light flashed across his fingers. He looked up, but that was impossible. It was the light for apartment 713. But every time it blinked, a piece of the electrical tape came down and floated to the ground like snow. "Danny?" Jake called, unsure what to do, but there was no answer. But this made no sense. Apartment 713 was empty. It was off limits. Danny had said so. Jake tried to figure out what was going on. "Wait," he said, "I got it." Danny went up to the 7th floor. He must have gone into apartment 713. He got locked in. He forgot the keys. I've got the keys. He needs me to go help him get out. So Jake runs to the elevator, which is waiting for him, and it takes him up to the 7th floor, and he looks around, and he cannot find anybody. There's nobody there. But then he heard a hum coming from apartment 713. He walked up to the door. The hum was very low from deep inside. He leaned an ear against the wood. It felt warm. His toes felt warm. He looked down. A weak yellowish light was sneaking out from underneath, and it was spreading across the floor and up the walls. "This is so weird," Jake said. He turned to leave when he heard voices from inside the apartment, talking excitedly, arguing, then scuffling of feet, followed by a glass crashing to the ground and a cry of "Help!" Someone needed something. Jake didn't hesitate. He had the keys. He jammed them in the lock and he turned it. The door swung open and it pulled Jake inside along with it. He stumbled onto a carpeted floor as the door slammed shut behind him. But he left the keys in the lock. He pulled at the doorknob and pulled, but it refused to open. There was an even louder scream from inside the apartment that made the hairs on his neck stand up. He had made a terrible mistake. He'd thought he could help. Now he was trapped. Then he heard footsteps, but he didn't dare turn around. The door wouldn't open. Danny had told him not to go into apartment 713, and Jake was about to find out the horrible reason why. Or you want to know what happens next? Yeah. Good, read the book. Now, I'm going to switch to, I'm not going to do a reading from the Hockey Super 6, but I'm going to talk about why I love these books. These books are very special to me. I love hockey. This is me in my very first set of goalie equipment in 1923. It's not that long ago, but it looks like that. And this is me in my current set of goalie equipment. I still play goal like about 3 times a week. I love hockey. Now, this is where I have to talk a little bit about drawing. Because if I'm going to write a book series about hockey, this series is about my two of my loves in life. Comic books, which taught me how to read, and hockey. Thank you. I almost forgot the other thing. It's 3 things, too. It's also about food. They're always eating cookies and pizza. So, in the Hockey Super 6, you cannot have characters who do not look like they are moving. If I draw hockey players who are standing like this, they're going to look like the Ottawa Senators. Sorry, that was a cheap shot. I could have taken it against the Buffalo Sabres, but that's even worse for me. So I have to be able to draw hockey players and characters who look like they're moving. Now, this is where sometimes when you see illustrations that a person has done in a book, an illustrator, you think that person probably was really talented when they were younger. They probably always loved drawing. They probably drew, I will answer questions at the end. They probably always loved drawing. No, this is how I draw today. But when I was 12 years old, I came up with a character who should have made me rich because I wanted to draw a comic strip with this character. And I came up with a simple design, a design I could draw over and over and over again. Get ready to meet George Fuzzbop. Now, thank you. The problem with George isn't whether or not it was well drawn. I actually don't like that conversation. Everybody draws differently. There are 2 problems with George. One is I was so afraid of making a mistake that you can see I tried to get every single line in exactly the right place. And when you do that, it hurts your hand. The drawing looks kind of lifeless because every line is exactly the same width. The worst problem with George is he's not moving. He looks as flat as a pancake, like he's been run over by a bulldozer. And I kept trying to get better. Now, this is where I got what I like to call the worst bit of advice that adults always try to give kids. How many of you kids have ever been told, just keep doing it, you'll get better? It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. I'll prove it to you. I was a sportscaster, and I used to go watch, I live in Toronto, I used to go watch Raptors games all the time for my job. And if you watch a pro basketball player, or even go talk to Chad Lucas about basketball, he's a great basketball player. And if you see those guys, someone could be trying to crack your ribs, you know, and Scotty Barnes is about to be like, have his ribs broken, but he's able to somehow twist in the air and throw up a layup that goes into the hoop. My goodness, they're incredible. Then he'll get fouled, and he'll stand in front of the free throw line, and he will not know how to make a free throw. And I'm not picking on him. Almost every NBA basketball player stinks at making free throws. And it's because that's one of the first skills you learn. When you're a kid, you grab a basketball, you go to your gym or your playground or your house, and you start doing that. And by the time you get coaching, you've done that so many times that that's your muscle memory, and you don't know how to change the way you do it. So what adults should say is, think differently about what you're doing, then keep doing it over and over again. Put in the effort, but you got to constantly challenge the way you think, because when you don't, you will just keep drawing Georges over and over and over again. This is an armless, screaming Easter egg that will haunt you in your nightmares tonight. I tried to draw George from different angles. Again, flat as a pancake. I tried to draw George doing exciting things. If you are surfing, you should be like this. George is like this, right? I drew him playing baseball, my favorite sport to watch. He looks like flat as a pancake. He's, for some reason, holding his pants. I don't know why. And then I drew him as the Easter Bunny. You will now notice he's peed his pants. And if you know anything about the sun and shadows, George is somehow taller than the tree he's standing next to. Yep. And I quit drawing. I quit. But what happened was that I started being curious about how other artists did what I wanted to do. What did they do that helped them to draw better stuff, that made their characters move? And I'm going to reveal to you the answer. There are 3 magic tricks. You'll see my puppy again for a second. Yeah, 3 magic tricks. And they all involve the simplest thing that you can draw, a stick figure. Now, stick figures don't get a lot of respect, and they should. Because if you can draw a stick figure, you can draw everything. And I'll prove it to you by drawing, well, first of all, I need to explain that what you've drawn is a head, back, arms, and legs. The problem with this is like my George Fuzzbob. This is a flat, not moving character. The only time humans are ever this stiff is if they really need to go to the bathroom or they're dead, okay? You don't want to draw dead characters. Well, you might want to draw dead characters, but make them lively dead characters. Something Zed Watson would want to find in a haunted house. And all you got to do, this is magic trick number 1. You can follow along in the air with me. Draw the head. Draw the arms. Draw the legs. But human beings bend, so don't do this, a straight back. All you got to do is bend the back. Yeah. And now you have a character who is going for a walk. Magic trick number 1. Now, here's the problem. When you only bend one line, you only have a character who can move a little bit. So what happens if that guy's about to be eaten by by a giant crocodile? It's more of a dragony crocodile, but there you go. So what's going to happen? Well, the guy can't move very fast. So he's going to end up dead. Or maybe dead like this, half eaten. So how do you help this person? How do you help this stick figure escape this evil crocodile? Okay, but you make him run. That is the right answer. But the way you do that is you bend all the shapes. That's magic trick number 2. And when you start to bend all the lines on your character, you'll notice that this person looks like they're running, but they also could be throwing a spear. They could be throwing a baseball. They could be kicking a soccer ball. So that is magic trick number 2. Magic trick number 3. And I use this when I draw the characters in my Hockey Super 6 all the time. It's hard to draw a character that's in motion like a hockey player. So like if I tried to draw, so Jenny or Benny, they're the twins in my book. If I drew them as just regular stick figures with everything bent, it's not bad, but they're not moving that much. So the way you get around that is you draw a stick figure that looks like a real person. Get all the parts, the bendy parts there first. Our arms don't do that. We have shoulders. We have elbows and wrists, and they all are bendy, so I draw little circles. We have hips, knees, ankles, feet, knees, ankles, feet. So this right now is just another dead stick figure because it's not moving, it's flat. But once I understand this, magic trick number 3, I can bend that to draw, say, Jenny and Benny holding a hockey stick and skating with the motion that a hockey player would actually have. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Stick figures are your friend. That is my point for you today. Now, I have a few minutes to answer questions, but please, if someone is asking me a question, I need to be able to hear them. So shh. And then shh. Do the sound of skates for me. Nice. You have a question? Can you do autographs after? If I think that's scheduled for after this, but yeah. Oh yeah, you were going to ask me a question before hockey.
Are you also a Bills fan?
Oh my God, yes. Yes. There's a reason that most authors are manically depressive, and it's because a lot of them come from places where their sports teams are the worst.
Don't worry, he's a Cowboys fan.
Oh, I hate you. I hate you so much. Yeah, that's fine. I don't say. So then why are you picking on my team? You're just being a bully, man. Don't pick on the weak. Don't pick on the weak. Oh, you have a question?
How are you so good at drawing? How are you so good at drawing?
I'm not. I keep trying to get across. This is the thing that I find funny. There were people that I went to school with who could, they would say, oh, can you draw a horse on a bicycle playing tennis with a fish? And they could do it. I can't. I don't even know what that would look like. But I would draw a stick figure to get the position of those things down. And then I would add shape on top of that. So, I mean, I think I'm okay at drawing because I draw all the time. But I don't think I was naturally a talented artist when there were kids that I went to school with who were way better at drawing than I was. Like, they just had a natural visual ability that I didn't. Yes?
For the book Apartment 7...
713. Remember, it's good luck and bad luck. 7 and 13.
That. I was asking, why did you choose 713?
Good luck and bad luck. 713. That's why. Yep.
Do you like drawing or writing more?
Drawing is something that I do all the time. So I like doing it more in the sense that I'm always drawing. Writing is hard. Who here likes writing? You're a freak. I love lots about writing, but I find writing super hard. So here's a trick I've learned. Okay, shush. Here's a trick I've learned. Just like I need to draw the stick figure underneath what I want to draw first so that I can then draw that thing, I need to outline my books. Other authors do this differently. I outline in little notebooks what happens in every single chapter of my books. If I don't know that before I sit down and write, I will get lost in the writing for hours and hours and hours and hours. So I need to be very disciplined when I write. Here's the funny thing about writing. Everyone's expected to do it. You all need to know how to do it. You live in a world where you have to write way more than I did as a kid. You write emails. You're going to have to write, stories for when you're applying for jobs, everything. And writing is an unnatural skill. You are taking something in your head, putting it into words, giving those words to a person who might not even know who you are, like in a book. Then they read it, and they're supposed to be able to get what you were thinking in their head. It's like learning a language, and it's very hard. So I love writing, but I find writing more work. Yes?
Is drawing your favorite hobby?
No, my favorite hobby is watching baseball. I watch about 200 baseball games a year. It's my favorite sport. Part of the reason it's my favorite sport is I don't have a favorite team, so my heart is never broken. So I just go out and I watch a ton of baseball. So I will sit and draw, and there's always, in the summer, there's always a baseball game on in the background. Yes?
Do you like hockey?
Do I like hockey?
Yeah.
I love hockey. If you're super quiet, everybody, I want you to be as quiet as possible. Everybody stop moving for just a sec. Literally, just a millisecond. I've been a goalie since I was 12 years old. Can you hear my knees? They crack. Will you testify, Monique, that you can hear my knee crack?
I heard it.
Yeah. So yes, I love hockey, but it's not necessarily good for me. The only injuries I've ever had in my life are I broke my collarbone playing hockey, tore my hamstring playing hockey, and about a month and a half ago, I popped my hip out of joint playing hockey. Will I still play hockey? Heck yes.
What's your favorite book?
My favorite book that I've read or that I've written? That I've written. I do not have a favorite book. I will say the Zed books are special to me because I wrote them with my kid Basil. They're fun. They're the sort of, and I'm not joking when I say Zed is my hero. I wish that I had been more like Zed. I'm more like Jake. Jake in Apartment 713 is sort of a clueless kid. He's kind of shy. He doesn't know a lot of stuff, but he's curious. I think that would describe me. Thank you guys for coming. Cool. All right, no. Wait, not everybody's leaving, just those guys that were leaving. I just wanted to say goodbye to them. All right. Au revoir, tout le monde. Vous avez une question pour moi?
How old were you when you learned how to draw that?
When I didn't learn how to draw that? Okay, I'm going to show you. How much time do I have? Do I have time for a couple more questions after this?
Not really.
Okay, this will be the last thing I show you then. What happened was that I got curious about how other artists drew, and my parents knew that I was curious, and they got me this book. And this is a book, you can still buy it, it's still in print. You can go to Lovely Woozles and they'll order it for you. How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. And what they say is, don't draw Spider-Man. If you try to draw Spider-Man, you will mess it up. Draw stick figures. And bend those stick figures. Because anyone who's standing still is not interesting to look at. But if you make somebody bent in really dramatic ways, you can make the most boring thing interesting. And the proof of that isn't just comic books, it's Renaissance art, like Michelangelo. Michelangelo, essentially here, has done a painting of someone holding a book. But because she's twisted, every part of her is bent, it's dramatic. It's interesting to look at. And so that's what the comic book guy said. Bend everybody in dramatic ways. Don't bend them a little to make them run. Bend them a lot to make them run. Then, once you're happy with your stick figure, then you add shape and you turn it into Spider-Man. And it took me a little while to figure that out. But my character started to move and move a little more. And then they started looking like this, this, this. And now today I draw stuff that looks like this.
I know there's more questions because Kevin is so interesting. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time. So let's give Kevin a very big round of applause. Okay, now before you go, just to let you know, we've got 3 tables over here. If anybody wants, all the other authors are coming down, and they're going to be sitting at the tables. If you want their autographs, you can line up in front of the tables. Also, before you move, Woozles is still here, so if you're interested in buying a book and then getting it signed, you can do that too.